10:30 back on the SportsFix. You're listening to North Central Florida's sports leader, ESPN Radio and ESPNGo1.com. Adam Reardon, Chris Doering, Scott Brantley with you. Talk a little Miami Hurricane football with Danny Money of CanesInSight.com. He joins us each and every Thursday here on the show, and we appreciate his time. Danny, good morning. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing quite well. Now, spring practice going on for the University of Miami. Fans, I know, are very, very excited about the offense, and there's folks that, you know, when you look at Stephen Morris, Duke Johnson, the wide receivers that come back, maybe expecting to see the most explosive offense they've seen in some time there at Miami. Are they correct?
I think so. Just the continuity. First, at quarterback, this is the first year that Stephen Morris really knows he's a starter. He's not fighting for his job. He's coming in with that confidence, had some success, had a lot of success late in the season. So you have probably the most confident, accomplished, certainly the most talented quarterback that Miami's had for a while. And then you have your offensive line coming back 6 deep. It's actually deeper than that, but as far as guys with starting experience and a lot of talent there, a lot of future NFL players. So you start right there with the offensive line and quarterback. That's a good foundation to build on. And there's just a ton of depth at the wide receiver position. So new tight ends came in this spring. Bo Sandland from junior college, Standish Stobart from the high school rank. So a lot to be excited about on offense.
How about in terms of the overall practices? I mean, there's something to be said for the comfort level and expectation that goes along with knowing how practices are run and knowing what is expected, and their ability to maybe do more this spring in terms of installation and maybe putting a little bit more responsibility on these guys for getting deeper into the playbook. Did you see any expansion on either side of the ball in terms of what they're able to teach with this foundation they've laid over the last year or so?
Well, the coaches that have been here for a while, Coach Gola and Coach D'Onofrio, they both said that this is the most fun that they've had coaching this team, just because of the continuity that you mentioned, and also because a lot of the list guys are gone. So just, you know, you have players they're familiar with, players that have bought in, that aren't resisting, and guys that know what's going on. And it starts, starting with the quarterback who's taking on that leadership position. Everybody kind of falls in line. They can do a little more experience on defense as well. Played so many freshmen last year. Now you have guys that have been through it, have had their ups and downs, and you're hoping to see a leap, kind of like what you saw with the Florida Gators 5 years ago, where that experience kind of comes into play, and they're able to stop thinking so much and start just playing football and really understanding the concepts rather than just trying to digest everything and go off rote memory.
Danny, we we always seem to talk about the leadership of this team, and I'm glad you mentioned there's a surefire quarterback down there, and that's Stephen Morris. We talked about the loss of Mike James, as far as his leadership quality. Duke Johnson might be that guy to take over. You talked about in the past how he has really bought into the program. Yes, sir, no, sir guy. He's a leader, on and off the field. That's good for a young guy. Defensive side of the ball, they lost a lot of people. A lot of that secondary is gone. How does a guy like up front, Tony Chickillo, going to be a upperclassman already? How's he molded into what might be a good leader on defense as well?
Well, he just has so much more experience than everybody else. He's been playing almost every snap since he's a freshman, so he understands what it takes. He's proven that he can play the game. He earned respect just by his play on the field. And then in the weight room, he's gotten a lot stronger. His dad was a big guy. His grandfather was a big guy. He's starting to fill into that frame and really get that strength to hold up. He's not a pure pass rusher where he's going to get you, 12 to 14 sacks. He's more of a hustle guy when it comes to the pass rush. He'll get coverage sacks. He's relentless. But really just a complete football player. And I think the key for a guy like Anthony Chickillo is not so much anything that he can do, but rather they need to put some depth behind him to relieve him of some of his responsibilities in terms of snap count. I mean, he's playing too much football. He can't, he goes full bore, but there's only so much energy that he can have. So I think if Chickillo is going to raise his game to the next level, the guys behind him and the freshmen coming in, a guy like Al-Quadin Muhammad, really need to step up and get on the field so they can take Chickillo off the field and play less snaps. He played almost twice as many snaps as Clowney in South Carolina did, and it's not sustainable. That's really going to be the key for Chickillo. Just getting him off the field a little bit so we can get a better Anthony Chickillo when he is on the field.
Danny Money, CanesInSight.com, our guest here on the SportsFix talking Miami Hurricane football. It's funny, my next question was about the D-line and how, to me, that's a major concern for this football team from top to bottom. Are there guys that through the spring practices, maybe through the first scrimmage, have stepped up, they've caught the coach's eyes, and that they're getting excited about going into next season?
Well, Alex Figueroa has been a guy that I've been excited about for a long time. From Virginia, a linebacker, a guy that flew under the radar because of some poor grades, some injuries coming out of high school, but really had the talent of a 4 or 5-star guy and the production of a 4 or 5-star guy, but just flew under the radar for various reasons. He's really emerged. He's a son of Marines. The coaches really like his attitude, yes sir, no sir, the way he works. And then on the field, he's very, very physical. He's really kind of seized that strong side linebacker job that Eddie Johnson vacated when he ran into some trouble. So he's a guy that's been standing out in the secondary. There's just a lot of young guys competing there. That's a position where I think Miami's defense can take a major step up. Both the cornerback position with a guy like Antonio Crawford from Tampa Plant, who's really starting to emerge, and also Tracy Howard, who's starting to come into his own as the guy that was pegged as the number 1 cornerback in the country a couple years ago. I think the safety position really is the position where Miami's going to take a huge leap forward. They've had a real deficit of speed there the past few years. Von Telemann, probably about a 4.7 guy. Ray Armstrong in that same range. A.J. Highsmith and Casey Rogers, 2 guys that came from different positions. Casey Rogers coming from cornerback to safety. A.J. Highsmith, a former quarterback. They never really took to the safety role. And also they're not the most explosive guys. So now you bring in a Deion Bush, who was a freshman All-America last year. Rayshawn Jenkins, another true sophomore from the Tampa area, who showed a lot of flashes late in the year just with his range, his ball skills, his size. He's up to about 215. Those 2 guys really look like what you expect from Miami safety. They run like Miami safeties, and they have people really excited about solidifying that safety position.
While the football team takes strides on the field, the NCAA still not taking a whole lot of strides in getting this investigation to a final point. I think there's still a lot of lingering thoughts on what's going to happen in terms of potential penalties and all. But I thought it was interesting, the story that came out recently about the lead investigator at the NCAA being fired because of what he said, a lack of progression with the case against Miami. I mean, in your opinion, and what he's stating, does this continue to back up the Miami fans and coaches and administration's allegations that the NCAA had something out for Miami and were willing to do whatever it took to kind of get this thing progressed along?
Well, what's interesting is that if you look at Najjar, the head investigator, if you look at his quotes, he said that there were certain people in this NCAA that wanted to save Miami, and that's what was kind of messing up the timeline. Now, think about this: as you're dealing with so many self-interested people, either people that got fired, people that went to jail for Ponzi scheming, just so many different people that were fired by the University of Miami, so many different people with their own motivations at play. It's hard to get a read on what the truth is. But, obviously when you have so many people getting fired and getting caught up in this investigation, something's not going right. The real revelation that caught my eye was that Stephanie Hanna, who succeeded Najjar as the lead investigator in this Miami case, continued to do exactly what he was doing as far as using the bankruptcy proceeding improperly to get information for the investigation. Now, that's significant because if you read the report that the NCAA commissioned, the internal report, they put her near the bottom of the list as far as people responsible for wrongdoing. It basically said she had nothing to do with it. So then after the report comes out, it becomes known that she did have something to do with it, and she kept on doing exactly what was done by her predecessor. So that calls into question the veracity of that internal investigation, of that report that they paid upwards of $1 million for. So I think that's what's really interesting. If it comes out and it continues to come out that report that they commissioned themselves to show that that we're transparent, we're on the up and up, we're taking responsibility. If it turns out that was a cover up itself, or that was whitewashed, that really looks bad for the NCAA, and that really looks bad for Mark Emmert. So I think that's where, if you're an investigative reporter or a Miami fan, that's where the money is. That's where the real bombshells could be dropped. And actually, tomorrow at, I believe, 3 p.m., ESPN putting on an Outside the Lines, which focuses on that, focuses on Stephanie Hannah's continued involvement, the flaws in the NCAA's internal investigation, and it has an interview with Sean Allen, who was one of the major accusers in the Yahoo story, basically saying that, look, they didn't even interview me during this internal investigation. I've looked at it, and pointing out several flaws with it. So that's really, I think, the next step as far as the scandal is. What's the story with this investigation, and was it proper?
Hey, one thing, Danny, Al Golden going into his third year at the head coach at University of Miami. It's a critical year. Everybody talks about that third year has got to be that year that you better shine, and we've seen great things happen in the third year for many a coach. A lot of bad things have happened for a coach going into his third year. Tell us a little about what's going on down there on campus during practice. And I heard that they're going to even move a practice over there to the Gulf Coast at Naples to maybe let those people know that Alligator Alley Drive isn't that far. I think they're trying to get some boosters from that area over there. Is that the main thinking of Al Golden and his staff?
Yeah, this is one of the best moves I think Coach Golden has done from a PR standpoint since he's been here. Actually, last year they had a scrimmage in Fort Myers, and it was a huge success. I mean, it probably had as many people as a spring game, or at least it felt like that, just because it was packed to the gills. You couldn't find a seat, and it was just a huge show of support from those Southwest Florida Canes fans, and there's a lot of them. So Coach Golden's coming back. He's going to Naples this time. Scrimmage is at 7 p.m. tomorrow. And people are really excited on the Gulf Coast. A lot of people from South Florida are making the trip, myself included. And, like you said, part of it is getting boosters. Other part of it is getting recruits. There's so much talent in that Southwest Florida area, and no one's really claimed it for themselves. I mean, you have a Javon Curse who goes to Florida. You have a Deion Sanders that goes to Florida State, a Sammy Watkins that goes to Clemson, Philip Buchanan and the other players who have gone to the University of Miami. So that area is really up for grabs. I think Coach Golden was smart to identify that as an area that the Canes could really put their foot down in and start claiming a consistent amount of those top players.
Danny Money, CanesInsight.com, the best in the business talking Miami Hurricane football. Danny, enjoy the scrimmage this weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it. Danny Money, CanesInsight.com. That's the website to go to for the latest in Miami Hurricane information. Coming up on the other side of the break, we'll turn our attention to Tallahassee. We'll talk to our good friend Ira Schofel, the Tallahassee Democrat. We'll find out what's going on for the Seminoles in their spring practices as well. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Sports Fix on ESPN Radio. Find us online at ESPNGo1.com. Doc Hall's Fitness and Nutrition Superstore is located just west of 441 on the south side of State Road 200. And Doc Hall is